this week's vlog, I'm going to take you through the entire process that I did to make a quilt. This is my first attempt at making a quilt, and I think it went really well despite all of the difficulties I ran into, which I will go over in this vlog. This is not going to be a how-to tutorial because I literally just winged it the whole time. I did not have a pattern. I didn't really measure anything. I just kind of had a design idea and went for it. I really love the quilt that is on our bed currently, but it doesn't quite match the decor style of the rest of our house, and I wanted our home to have a cohesive feel, and I really wanted something that felt really special and personalized, and so I thought it would be fun to make a quilt. I made a similar quilt to this one that Carolyn McQuinst has on her vlog. I've always thought it's super cute. You can purchase that one. I think it's still available online, but it just wasn't quite the colors that we have in our apartment. So I thought, why don't I try and make one? It's going to be 100% cotton quilt. We are trying to get away from plastics and polyester. So all of the batting and fabric that I'm going to use are 100% cotton. I had some of the fabric already that I kept from before we moved, and then the rest I found in McMinnville at a cute little quilt shop that I went to last month. I will link the video to that here. That was a super fun trip, and they had gorgeous fabrics that matched exactly what I was looking for. So I loaded up, and I honestly wasn't expecting to make this quilt until probably this next coming winter, so I'm like almost a year ahead of schedule, which I'm really excited for. I tried to be as sustainable as possible when making this quilt, as far as not wasting any materials, using what I had on hand, and making the most out of what I have. As you will see, I kept all the scraps from this project to use for future sewing projects, because I have a feeling that I am going to go on a sewing spree after this because I had so much fun. But without further ado, let's get into it, and I really hope you enjoy this video. Okay, I have just about all my squares cut. However, on the green fabric on the top there, I was a few squares short, so I need to piece together my scraps. I know I can get at least 2 more squares. I'm hoping for 2.5, but because otherwise, if I don't, I'm gonna have to cut into that fabric, which I just put there a couple weekends ago. And I don't want to do that, but I might have to do that anyways, because if I decide to make matching pillowcases, I won't have enough fabric. But we're going to worry about the quilt first, so I'm going to sew these together and see what I can get. So I managed to piece together 2 more little squares of fabric, and I was hoping to get 1 more because I'm 1 short now, but I just didn't have enough to do 3. I'm not going to cut into that fabric yet. I think I might have a secret stash of a little bit of fabric somewhere, but I'm going to set that aside for now, and I think the last thing I'm going to get done today is to move on to matching up patterns and see how I want the pattern to lay out. So for this quilt, I'm using 8 different colors. I'm using 4 solids and then a pattern that matches one of the solids. So I've got 2 green, 2 like mauve colors, 2 pinks, and then 2 blues. And I'm going to mix them up so that they kind of all go together. The pattern I'm working from has 2 main squares comprised of 4 colors, and so I'm going to put 1 of each color in a square and alternate those. So it should be pretty easy. Okay, so now that I have all my squares cut out, we can get to the part I'm most looking forward to, and that is laying the quilt out, forming the pattern, and then sewing it all together. At this point, it feels like I'm almost done with the quilt, but I made a list of all the steps I need to complete before I'm done, and I'm only like halfway there. So I still have a ways to go. I'm hoping I can finish this by the end of the month, and if I check off 1 item off my list every day, I should be able to do it, but some of the items are pretty big. I know I'm also going to need to make a supply run at some point because I'm going to run out of thread, and I think there's a couple more tools I need for piecing the quilt together with the backing, but I'm not quite there yet, so I'm just going to work on laying the quilt out next. So here's what I've landed on for a pattern. Ideally, I would have liked the pinks not to be together and these not be together, but the way I had sewn the squares together, I did it a little bit wonky, so the pattern is not quite what I want it to be, but I still think it looks really good. So I'm going to go for this, and then now I'm going to lay out the whole quilt to see how it looks. Okay, here is the quilt all laid out. It looks absolutely massive, but it is actually on the smaller side for a bed quilt. And once I sew everything together, it's going to shrink up another 5 to 7 inches. Right now, each side is at 84 inches, and when I sew everything together, it should shrink to about 75 to 77 inches. I think it'll be just about the perfect size, and I do like the way the pattern looks laid out. I think it looks really pretty. So I am excited to start sewing this. I'm going to sew each row individually and then sew everything together. So that should take me the next couple days to do that. But I'm getting excited for this. I just finished sewing my first row and it turned out really well. I'm really happy that most of the corners are matching up. I really took my time, cut the edges so that they were square, and made sure that everything was nice and ironed, so I think that's what did the trick. But it's coming together. I think I will be at this for a while, but I put on the second Bridget Jones to keep me company, and I'm just gonna plow through these, and then hopefully by the weekend I can put the whole top part of the quilt together. So disaster has struck. I have not been able to work on the quilt for 4 or 5 days now. I finished sewing all of my rows together and they look really good. Like, I'm really impressed with my corners matching up. So I got all those done, and then I was just in the middle of sewing them together so that I could complete the quilt top. And I should have had that done Friday night, but as I was doing that, my machine jammed. The needle got stuck below in like the bobbin wheelhouse, which I was kind of expecting, because as I have been working on this project, every time the needle and everything rotates, it was sounding really clicky, like something just wasn't matching up right, and the needle kept jamming. I just had to keep rethreading the needle and bobbin, and it just like kept happening. But Friday it just completely jammed and I couldn't get it fixed. And this has happened before. My machine's like 22 years old. I got it as a graduation present when I graduated high school, so it's 22 years old. And about 10 years ago the same thing happened, and so I took it to the sewing place in town, and they serviced it, fixed it, and it worked like a dream for a really long time. But I think it's just time again that it needs serviced. So I dropped it off Saturday, but they said it could be up to 2 weeks, and it's already been. They only have one technician that comes in on Tuesdays, so I was really hoping he'd get to it yesterday, which was Tuesday, but I didn't get a call, and I didn't get a call today, so I think it'll be another week before I get it back. Um, and I'm really emotional over it. I was not expecting myself to be emotional over a sewing machine, but it just has so many good memories tied to it. Even the chewed up cord that the rabbits got to, they were like, "Oh, we can replace this." I was like, "No, don't touch it, because it might look terrible, but it has memories of our rabbits." So I and then they were suggesting that I look at new machines since mine's older, and I was shutting that down so fast. Like, no, I really like my machine. It's really intuitive, it's easy to use, easy to thread. I can troubleshoot practically any mistake that happens. I do not want another machine. And so I really hope nothing happens to it because I will be devastated if I can't use that machine anymore. I was so sad that my machine broke just as I was about to finish the top part of the quilt because I thought I would have had it done by today or at least by the end of this week, but that is definitely not going to happen anymore. So that's where we are. I have my sewing machine back. It's running really great, and I just finished the quilt top and I really like it. I am so impressed with how closely I got all the corners because that is not my forte, but it looks so good. So next I need to iron it one more time to get all the seams flat, and then I'm going to attach all the layers together and then start quilting everything. But before I do that, I want to put it on the bed to make sure that I like the size and how it's gonna look. So here's what it looks like, and I really like it. I think the squares are the perfect size, which is great because I did not pre-measure anything. I just went for it and hoped for the best. When I did my first measurements of how long the quilt I wanted to be, I really wanted each side to line up right with this, and so that side's pretty good, and then it's pretty good over here too. I was hoping that it would be a little bit longer, but I think that's good enough. I thought about adding another row to make it one more longer, but I don't think I have enough fabric of this one, and those are the two that I would need to do another row. So I think I'm gonna leave it as is. It wasn't supposed to be a huge quilt, just something to throw over the bed, and I think this will do. So according to my list, I am entering the final stages of my quilt. Today I am going to lay each layer out and baste it together so that I can sew all the layers together, and then I'm almost done. I just finished ironing the back side of the quilt for the last time, which is what you see behind me. I've also taken everything out of the dining room because that is the only large hard surface floor in our apartment, so that's where I'm going to be putting this all together. I'm going to set that up and then we'll see how this goes. I'm a little nervous that my layers aren't going to match up right and cause wrinkles or crinkles when I go to sew, but we're just going to do the best we can. Okay, so basting is done. I don't know how good of a job I did. The basting pins were not very sharp, so it was really hard to tell if I was getting through all 3 layers of the fabric, and I'm not sure. That was the first time I've done that, so we'll see once I go to sew it all together how it turned out. I did keep all the trimmings of the excess pink striped fabric and the batting. The batting I know I'm going to use at least for another project this year, and then the pink striped fabric I'm going to use to trim it at the very end, so I want to keep that. Hopefully I have enough. If not, I'll have to run to the craft store in McMinnville again to get that fabric, but yeah, so now we're on to the final sewing part of this project. So I know that you can do quite a bit of cool designs when it comes to quilt stitches with machines. I'm going to do a simple one because I don't have access to that type of machine and I've never done it, but I've decided I'm just going to go along the diagonals here and kind of frame the squares a bit. I had to stop for the day because I ran out of thread for the backing, but it's looking so good. You can see my sewing quilting lines and they're lining up really well. They're not perfect, but it looks so good. Better than I was thinking it would. And the backside looks good too. I used a dark thread for the backside and that's what I ran out of, so I'm gonna have to run to the store and get more. And then I used a light pink for the top, but I really love it. About it, bud. Okay. Yeah. Oh. What do you think? What do you think of the new blanket, bud? Oh. Oh, no. No, no, no. No, no. So I just finished putting all my quilt layers together and I'm almost done with the quilt. I just have to put the trim around it. I did run into two things while I was finishing the quilt top. One is I ran out of thread, which was fine because I went and bought more, but the only color that they had was like this kind of rainbow circusy color, which I do not particularly like. It's fine because it'll be on the back of the quilt, but it's just unfortunate because I really liked the original color. It was like the perfect, so here's the original. It like perfectly matches the darker pink, and then here's like this, what I'm calling the circus colors, because it's just too bright, but I'm trying not to let that bother me too much because it is a small thing. The other thing I ran into is that I think when I was doing my quilt squares and triangles, they weren't perfectly square when I lined them up somehow, because I kept running into like where it bubbled and I would have to like go over, it just kept making these little bubbles everywhere, but that's okay. I mean, it's not perfect and I'm living with that. Some are, like these ones are pretty small, these little catches that I have, but other areas it's pretty noticeable. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. I just have to do the trim like I just said. I've already cut it out. I'm using the scraps from the backside. The only issue I'm going to run into with this is that I was hoping to have all the trim cut like this, but I didn't have enough going in that direction, so I have others that are going this way, and so it's gonna look a little funny on the edge that they're not all the same, but I am trying really hard not to make an extra hour-long trip to go get more fabric, so I'm just gonna use what I have and it'll look great no matter what. I finished the quilt and it looks so good. I'm really happy with it. The top side is adorable and I also really like the backing. Even the little mistakes and difficulties that I ran into, like not having enough trim and having it be two different patterns, it doesn't bother me. I think it adds character to it. Same with when the stitching got caught in the front because it wasn't totally flat and it slightly has little bubbles. That looks fine. I don't even mind the back where the circus thread is. I just think it looks really good. The only thing that I wish is that I did have extra fabric to make it one square bigger, to make it a 12 by 12 square instead of the 11 by 11 that it was. It is slightly short on the bed. It's okay, like it looks fine. I'm probably the only one who would notice it, but ideally I would have liked it to be a little bit longer. But overall, I'm super satisfied for my first quilt that I've done, especially since I wasn't using a pattern or really measuring anything. It just kind of came together. It took 4 full weeks to get this done. I think it would have only taken 2 or 2.5 weeks had I not run into as many issues and delays as I did, but it was well worth the wait. I'm super happy about this. We were using it last night and yeah, it's a great quilt. I am now excited for more sewing projects this year. I've made myself a list of clothing and home decor stuff and accessories that I want to make. I'll probably be a busy beaver this year working on more sewing projects, which I'm really excited because sewing was one of the first hobbies that I got into as a teenager, and so it's fun to get reacquainted with that in my 40s. This was a really fun project I got to share with you, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you don't already, because it just helps my channel, and I really appreciate all your support. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did.